With more Magic the Gathering players jumping into the singles market and the crazy combinations that are about to hit Arena and Standard, these are definitely some cards that you should be watching. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today for another card watch video, because we got some crazy stuff going on in the world of Magic the Gathering. People hate Wizards. Wizards apparently is indifferent toward the player base. The singles market is starting to pick up, and before you know it, you'll have Phyrexia All Will Be One hitting the market. And when you have new sets like this entering the field of play, you have to realize that they're meant to be interconnected among other standard sets. So I have some crazy combinations to show you today as I talk through the video. Not all the cards are meant, of course, for Arena or for Standard. We have cards in Modern today. We have a few other staples I think people should be looking at because of what's happening out there. Some of these cards probably won't get reprinted for a while, while other cards may be hitting there faster than people realize, and they've got to be aware of it in case they got to ditch these cards, get them off your books, trade them in for something else, wait for the reprint, and buy them back cheap afterwards. All right, guys? So let's have some fun with today's video. Let's take a look at some cards you should be watching right now in the market, because if you own them, you may want to keep them. If you own them, you may need to ditch them. Let's find out. Let's talk this through. Our first card today is Mirror Box, and that is from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Now, this card is averaging on the market $1.33. It's around $2.50 here in Canada. And of course, I want to show you a card beside it, which is Blue Suns Twilight. This is a card coming into Standard, and of course, it's from Phyrexia All Will Be One. Now, when we take a closer look at the Mirror Box, just pay attention to this bad boy, where it says, the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. Each legendary creature you control gets a +1/+1 counter. Each non-creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name. It's a pretty good card with almost no value, so it's already decent. But when you take it away and you look at the Blue Suns Twilight, gain control of target creature with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So if I take away somebody's big bad boy legendary creature, I get 2 of it. And if you have Mirror Box, if it's legendary, I'm not going to lose it. I get to keep both of them. This can lead to some crazy stuff in some of the games that you'll be seeing eventually on Arena, because somebody's going to try to make this stuff work. They're going to try to break this stuff out. I've already seen crazy combinations going on with Portal to Phyrexia, with Urza, Prince of Krug. I'll talk about that as we go through. There are some crazy combinations happening out there, and these kind of cards, when they hit play, won't seem that deadly, but don't forget all the Power Stone tokens they're giving us to help get these kind of cards really jammed up and get massive mana supplies going. Really crazy for only like $2. Now, our next card is Otawara Soaring City. I want to bring attention to this card again. I remember it being so low. It was like $4 when I first bought my copies. The market price right now is $10.72. It's been as high as, like, I guess in Canada, $23, $24 for the extended art, cool foil versions. But when you take a look, don't forget, this card's going to rotate out before you know it, of course. But it does have its channel ability. It has a home in Commander. And more legendary stuff means it's cheaper to cast. This can be an offensive or defensive card. If you don't have it, pay attention. Wait for it to rotate out, buy a copy on the cheap. Card like this probably is not going to get very many printings coming up anytime soon. The way Wizards is reacting to things is very slow. So chances are when this card rotates, it's going to slowly rise over time. In my opinion, this card will probably reach the $15 mark again about 6 months after rotation. But it'll drop initially when it rotates out. I know I've got a couple of playsets myself that I'm using in some Commander decks. I recommend people who don't have one. It's not an expensive card to buy. Pick it up before it ever starts to crouch up. I think you got a few years before a reprint will come along for a card like this. But right now in things like Standard, it still has a really good playing route because it can unsummon things for you or for your opponent to keep stuff alive. Great card. Next card, Urza Lord High Protector. Market price is $29.20 US. It's about $45 here in Canada. The foil is $40 US. It's €15 and 47 cents to get this card into your house. Super cheap overseas. And I do know people who are buying overseas the English versions and shipping them to the States. That was a crazy manifest you showed me Great if you got friends in the UK to help you out. Now, Urza himself has already been a good card. 3 casting costs for 2/4. Artifact, instant, sorcery spells cost less to cast. Amazing. Amazing. The 7 ability, merging him with the Meekstone, Mightstone. When it goes off, it's good. Never expect to get it out early when they have lots of kill spells. You got to drain your opponent's hand to 0 cards before you try to meld the cards together. The good news is things like Serra Paragon can bring this card back. So you can let it die early on in the game, knowing you're sucking cards from your opponent's hand. As long as they don't have a way of getting rid of your graveyard, you drop out a Serra Paragon and recast it later on. They're probably going to start target the Serra Paragon. Then you can get the Meekstone, Mightstone going. You got to look for those combinations. But this card is kind of interesting as well because it's selling out in a lot of places. You can still find it on TCG Player, but a lot of local shops are telling me that this is on wish lists and they don't have any copies in stock, and that's probably due to the fact this product, Urza's, the Brother War here for Urza, is not being opened as often as people think, nor is he as common as a mythic as people expected him to be. So great card. Interesting to see what will happen with him in the future. I think we have time though. He's not getting a reprint anytime soon. Now our next card is Yawgmoth, the Thran Physician. Now when you bring back Proliferate, pardon my horrible pronunciation, and you're bringing this card back in, and you're saying, hey, it's going to come back around. He's already a popular commander card. He's already pretty good. Market price, 33 bucks. Getting a reprint, he's starting to trend down in price. This is the time to pay attention to him. If he hits the mid-20 range, that's a fine price to pay for a mythic like this. He has protection from humans. Discard a card to proliferate, which is amazing. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a -1/-1 counter. Again, -1/-1 counters, add proliferate, and you got some sick stuff going on. He is a good card to consider getting if you don't have him already. I've recommended this card numerous times, but now with the reprint coming up like this, it's a good time to try to pay attention to this card and get it. I love it when they do these little minor reprints like that. Awesome, okay? Now, the next card, Portal to Phyrexia. This thing is just busted on so many levels, okay? It's actually freaking me out a bit because I have messed people up. For those who don't know, take a closer look. A 9 casting cost card. When Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures, okay? At the beginning of your upkeep, put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's Phyrexian in addition to its other types. Now, the reason this is important, there are less ways right now of getting rid of people's graveyards. You have Farewell, which is still around, but they haven't really added new cards into nuke graveyards right now. So if you have the Prince of Krug out, Urza, and you start copying this card and you use the other Urza or other ways of getting the Power Stones out there, ways of duplicating the Power Stones, ways of copying tokens, it gets kind of disgusting to see what you can do when you start using Prince of Krug to copy the Portal of Phyrexia. I had a guy who had all kinds of these oozes out. I just copied the Portal every turn and start building an army because it's not a legendary. So you start copying the Portal, you start nuking their battlefield, and you have all these ways of bringing their creatures back to the battlefield. You start summoning 4, 5, 6 creatures all at once. Do I think this card is worth the $21.31 US? Yes, I do. Locally here in Toronto, it's sold out, guys. Can't find any copies anywhere. That's very, very good sign. It shows that people are using the card. They don't have any in stock. Okay, and it's on about 20 different wish lists for people, so kind of crazy to see. I'd love to know how you guys are using this card because I think this card's broken. It's going to have a lot of fun ahead of it in different formats like Commander. Pay attention to this card. If you don't have a copy, get one. Get it now while you can, in my humble opinion. Now our next card. Oh, Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Oh, how we love to hate you. This card's not going down. Still trending up. I still think they'll put it in a secret layer or something, but right now, the price is so high. Dominaria United is not really being opened right now, okay? Nobody's bothering. They've moved the money on, so whatever's out there is out there. This card is still available, but the price is high. It's like $85 Canadian for this card. That is way too high for a standard set card. They will find a way to put this back out. They will find a way to do it quickly, which means in the next 12 to 24 months, they'll try to pop this card in somewhere. Either as a list card, as a special thing, as a secret layer to capitalize on that money. This is not a card I recommend buying right now, as much as I hate to say it. I bought copies at 50 bucks, okay? I bought, instead of buying some collector packs, I just said it's only $10 more to actually buy the card I wanted, so I went ahead and bought myself 2 copies instead of buying a few collector packs. That's why I'm looking at cards right now, going for the singles. But this card is still a very expensive card to get. And although it's a game-ending card, it's amazing, all the crazy stuff you can do, I still think Wizards will have it in their mind. They can capitalize on the equity in this card, and they will reprint it. So I'm very leery recommending anyone buy this card right now. I think it's headed for a reprint. Now, the old Sheoldred. All right, Sheoldred, the Whispering One. 2 black, 5 other, 6/6. This card has Swamp Walk, and that's interesting to me. We don't see a lot of cards like that. This is an older school card, right? We're talking new Phyrexia, but it's something to really keep an eye on because this card does have value. It still has future value. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Nice recycling all by itself. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. With the way we can make token creatures now, with the way we can copy creatures, with the way there's a multitude of ways of using this card and using it in combinations with other Sheoldred, you are going to see Phyrexian decks put together for Commander, tribal fun decks, casual stuff. Cards like this going for like 15, 16 bucks Canadian is really low for an original OG card. And if you have the extra cash, they really can't duplicate old foils like this. It's still OG original. So I'm not saying I'd spend the $57.96, roughly $60 US, $90 Canadian. But spending the market price to get a regular version, I would definitely dive in on that because I think some of these cards are actually going to start trending upward after we get into the new year. After sets like this come out, it's better to dive in now, spend the 20 bucks and just call it a day. Our next card, of course, Elesh Norn, the Grand Symbiote. Now, this card has always had some value, okay? $27.07, foil's about 100 bucks Canadian. It has Vigilance, which makes it good to stop things like the Wandering Emperor that can, if this thing's tapped, right? That you can't nuke it that easily. Vigilance, other creatures you get +2/+2. Opponent's creatures get -2/2. An amazing card. There are lots of ways of ramping up mana nowadays in a multitude of decks, so it's something to keep an eye on. This card, I don't expect it to jump up in value, but I don't expect it to lose value either. So if you're a person who's thinking about building some kind of a Phyrexian deck, get the card now before the hype and possible market drain on a card like this, just people buying individual singles, causes this card to go up again. And I'm not saying spike to like 40 bucks, but it might hit the $32, $33 level if players start buying it. You can save yourself 20% by buying it now. Our next card is Jin Gitaxias, the Progress Tyrant. Super cheap card now. Love the fact this card's not 40 bucks anymore and that it's collapsed. But when you consider cards that I showed you, okay, that first card, which is the Blue Sun's Twilight, comboing with cards like this, Mirror Box, the fact he copies things as a $9 card, a 7 casting cost 5/5. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. Guys, that's disgusting. Okay, that is disgusting. But not only that, whenever your opponent casts one, it counters it the first time. He's a very powerful card. He is very powerful. He does cost a lot of mana, which means he will not be usable in every deck, but as a big bomb later on or used in combinations of being able to draw him back and put him back into play, you know, ways of recycling him back into play, he can be very powerful if you mill him in and then dredge him up somehow. Guys, I'm not saying he's going to spike or anything, but he's probably not getting a reprint. Not for a while. He doesn't have the value or the equity that Wizards needs to draw that kind of card as a value card to draw income from it. So they're going to let it sit there in the books, and they may make a few more powerful cards like that Blue Twilight to make it worthwhile. So keep an eye on it. It's going to be fun. The last card hasn't even come out yet. Elesh Norn, Mother of the Machines. Okay? Which, by the way, when I see this, it totally reminds me of Aliens. Tell me that doesn't remind you of the Aliens kind of thing, right? Or what was that movie? Pandorum? It's like a kind of cheesy horror movie type thing from back in the day. Dennis Quaid, I think. I look at this and I go, okay, let's take a look at it. 5 casting costs. But what's interesting is it's only 1 white and 4 other. That's what's interesting to me. It still has Vigilance. Amazing. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger. So I'm stopping my opponent's triggered effects. I'm getting an extra triggered ability. It's still a 4/7, but now it's only 1 white and 4 other. It's a splash of white. This thing's disgustingly powerful. It is going to have a lot of broken homes very soon. And I do recommend picking this card up on pre-sale. If it hits the market and you see it for around that $25 mark, buy it now. Get it out of the way if you're thinking of building a deck that involves the Phyrexians. You don't want to pass up the value of a card like that. You don't want to miss it because that will have insane value going forward. So these are my thoughts and feelings on the matter. And as Wizards continues to mess up the world, we get to enjoy Magic, pick up the singles cards you really want to get your hands on, and enjoy the game for what it's supposed to be, a great time for everyone. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Thanks for hanging out with the Moxman today. I look forward to seeing you guys later. And don't forget, leave a comment in the comments section. I look forward to reading them, guys. Have a great day today. And of course, a big thank you goes out to all the fantastic patrons on this channel. Without their support, guys, content like this is not possible. Patrons, I truly want to thank you for all the time and effort you put into my channel. Thanks again. The Phyrexians are coming. What you gonna do when the Phyrexians come for you?